Welcome to Fifth Dimensional Life, Mass Human Awakening. I'm Lise, your host. Happy 2022. I'm so excited, so stoked for this year because I'm feeling throughout my whole body. I'm getting a lot of visions and feeling it through all my energetic bodies as well, that this is going to be a huge year for mass human awakening. And in 2020, I had the vision that in spring 2022, there would be like this huge kind of red light and that would beam on the earth, and everyone would basically wake up to a lot of the darkness that's going on here. It was a very profound vision, and I just want to share some of the other things that I've gone through throughout my awakening journey, throughout my life, in regards to prophetic dreams and visions. If you've had any dreams or visions that were really profound or they ended up coming true, please post them in the comments. I'd love for you to share what you've experienced as well. I'm going to touch on some other people who've also had certain dreams and visions. Obviously, there's Nostradamus. David Wilcock has had many, and so on and so forth. Everyone has the ability to bring in higher dimensional energy, or actually have foresight or clairvoyance, clairsentience, where you can actually sense, feel, see different timelines, like possible timelines. There's basically infinite amount of different timelines that can occur, and some are more likely than others. And, that goes into the Mandela effect as well, too, where, we've been on one timeline and then we jump to a different timeline, but we still have the memories of the previous timeline. I'll talk more about that in another video coming up. But even if you do have intense dreams and visions, sometimes they might not end up coming true because the timeline switched. So super interesting. If you've experienced anything like that, please, again, put them in the comments, share what you've experienced and what your thoughts are on all this. So, anyone can have prophetic dreams, and we all do all the time. When we dream, we go into different dream dimensions, and there's basically infinite amounts of dimensions as well. So, and then also when you're dreaming, you can go into like astral travel. If you kind of become conscious in your dream, you can take over control of your dream and you can start flying, or you can go visit extraterrestrials. You can go to secret bases if you don't get caught. But dreams are absolutely profound, and there's so much that we can learn from our dreams. I highly recommend having a pen and paper or a notebook, or just your phone by your bed. And when you wake up in the morning, write down your dreams, or, type it out, record it. I like doing voice recordings because sometimes I'm so groggy that it's hard to write. And then when you kind of wake up enough, it's hard to remember the dream, because our subconscious mind is completely open in the dreams. And basically once we're alert and waking up, going back into like a beta state of brain waves, our subconscious is closed and we can't access that information anymore. We are still, if you practice it enough, you can still tap into that. But again, that takes a bit of practice to get into different brain states and access that information from the collective or the Akashic or wherever it's from. So I started, I had lots of strange experiences when I was young, like really young, like 3 or 4. I'd have lots of beings come into my room. I thought they were like spirits or like angels, or I didn't know. But a lot of them were extraterrestrial beings. And then I had like some dark ones come in and psychically attack me. And, then I ended up closing off my space to any and all beings. And I just use the power of Jesus basically to come into my home and clear my home. And so from a young age, I learned that kind of unknowingly. I didn't totally understand it, but I just, relied on Jesus and God to get me through those times, because it was very scary when you're a little kid. And one of the most clear dreams that I've had was when I was about 17, and I had this very odd dream. I was sitting in my room. I was holding this parking pass thing. And I was looking in the mirror at myself, and I looked back at the parking pass in my hand, and I looked at myself in the mirror again. And then I woke up and I was like, what? That's a weird dream. And then I was thinking more about it. And I was like, that's impossible to have that little parking pass, because when you go into the place, you get the pass. And then when you go to leave, and you pay, and then you give the little pass back. So there's no way that you can have that little parking pass card. So I ended up going to that place. It was a mall, and I did my shopping and whatever. And then I paid for my parking, and I was about to leave the parking lot, and I looked ahead of me. I had the parking pass in my hand. I was ready to put it in the machine. I looked ahead, and the little wooden barricade thing was broken off. Someone obviously had smashed through it. And so I, you know, kind of froze for a second there. And I just looked at the parking pass, and I just kept it. And I drove home, and then I went and sat down exactly where I was in my dream. I looked at myself in the mirror. I looked back at the parking pass. I looked at myself in the mirror again and back at the pass. And it was just like a clear sign. And I got the message in my head, like, you can have these dreams where they end up coming true. And it was just like a very easy, non stressful way of really clearly seeing that. So, it was divinely guided that I had that dream and that experience. And then a few years later, I was going on a big trip to Thailand. And the night before I was leaving, I had this really, really intense dream. I was standing on this beach and looking at the ocean. There was this big storm going on, and then this huge wave came up, and there was this man in the wave. He was like the man of the sea, or the man of the ocean. And he came up and he kissed me on the lips, and he looked at me in my eyes and said, everything is going to be okay. And my dream ended, and it was just like, oh my gosh, that was really intense, like energetically, emotionally, very, very intense. So I went on my trip, and a couple of weeks in, I was going from an island to another island, and it was about a 4-hour boat ride. And it was kind of stormy, and everything was fine until about an hour in, and the waves started just getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and the boat was rocking back and forth, and it was getting really, really scary. And everyone started scrambling for life jackets, and there was guides on the boat, and they're kind of laughing and like, ha ha, all these tourists. And then after a while, like, the waves got even bigger. They were like bigger than the boat was. And this was like a 300 passenger boat with like 3 levels. And it was very, very scary. People were starting to cry and scream, and people were praying and throwing up. I was praying, and just, it was terrifying, like 2.5 hours of sheer terror, holding on for your life. Like, I was looking at the windows, like, how am I going to smash this window open when this boat capsizes? And everything of my life flashed before my eyes. It was a near-death experience, or an NDE. I also felt like out of body as well. So an OBE, out of body experience, where I was doing kind of like a life review, and I was like, I haven't accomplished all the things that I've wanted to yet. I want to get a degree. I want to go traveling. I want to do music. I want to do modeling. I want to do acting. I want to do all of these things. I want to have a family. I want to like go on all these other trips and do all these things. And, it was just like this big checklist that kind of came into my mind of like all the things that I had to accomplish because I didn't want to die yet. And then luckily the, boat made it through, and even the guides at that point, they were all, absolutely terrified as well. Everyone on board was just like, oh, we almost died. And they canceled every other boat that day. There was actually some boats like on the other, a little ways away that did capsize, and everyone, like 300 people on board, perished. So, that just having that dream and that experience, it, further solidified like, okay, I got this. I'm taking this seriously now. Okay, I'm going to pay really close attention to my dreams and my visions. And then in 2011 and 2012, I started having these really, really intense visions. It was like there was a huge shift around that time. I had visions of Trump being president, and I believe this was in 2011. And it was like horrible. It was sheer horror. It was like World War III. There was biological warfare going on. It looked like people were melting and just in agony, and they had like some sort of disease. It was some sort of like viral infection that was plaguing the whole world. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is horrible. Like Trump can't be president. He can't. This is horrible. Like what a terrifying vision. And then later, once he did get into his presidency, and then there's, this biological warfare thing that's going on worldwide, it makes a lot more sense what I was seeing back then and, what ended up happening. And I had other visions too, like humanity would be utilizing garbage and we would be transferring it into useful items. I didn't see the actual process of it, but I knew that garbage became more of like a commodity, and we were instead of like recycling things, we were like using them in a different way, and it was way more environmentally friendly. It was way more cost effective, and it just helped our planet out. It helped clean our planet up way better. We were also doing different type of energy resources, different type of healing. We're using a lot more like frequency kind of stuff. I saw also that we're all energetic beings, and we're all wavelengths, like going kind of up and down, like water kind of. There's an ebb and flow, and the higher you go, sometimes the harder you can crash down. And when you're able to stay kind of at like more of a neutral point, you're able to better sustain your frequency, your vibration in a healthier way. So that all was very interesting. I didn't record it as well as I could have. I should have. So I'm much more mindful now of writing down my dreams. And then in, I think it was 2017 or so, I started having visions of my children that I was going to have. And I began seeing visions of disasters as well, which was quite terrifying because I didn't know where or when they would occur and to whom it was going to happen to. So sometimes I would just get like, I would look at a window or a door and there would be like an explosion or a blast coming through. And then 2 days later, I would see in the news, like there was this huge explosion, like on the other side of the world. And then the vision would stop. And then I would get another one, like a bad car accident or something. And I'd be like, oh, is this going to happen to me? I'm so nervous. And I wasn't as aware consciously, and I didn't have the education yet totally that I do now, behind these visions. And to, if you are having visions like this and they're really intense and you feel it to your core, write them down, write out everything in detail that you can, and more information will actually come out once you start writing them down, or if you start telling someone else about them, or even just recording them on voice record. And you can also go see hypnotherapists and, all of that as well to dig deeper into these. The most intense vision, though, that I had of a disaster, it was just absolutely terrifying because I had it. Usually I had the visions, like disaster visions, like only for 2 days or so. But this one was going on for like 2 weeks, and it was like a horrific crash. And in the vision, I'd be driving and just like on kind of a highway road, and then like a semi truck would hit me from the right side, and then it would just go black. And I'd have that over and over and over and over again. And I, was asking like out to the universe, like, is this going to happen to me? I'm so scared of this. Like, why do I keep having this? And then about 2 weeks after from the start date of these, there was this horrible bus crash close to where I'm from. It was the Broncos bus crash. It was like, I think about 20 young teenagers and their coaches, who I think it was like 18 or 19 of them passed away from this semi truck that hit them, going like 100 kilometers an hour from the right side. So I could see it, but I saw myself and my vehicle in this, where it was actually like different. It was a bus basically that they were in. So, and then after that, because I felt every single one of the people's pain in that, their terror. And then I also felt the next level out of their family members and their friends and their communities. It was like all these energetic levels that I felt for 2 weeks prior to that. And it was just so like soul crushingly terrifying. And after that, I was like, no more disaster visions. No, I can't take this anymore. These are horrible. I can't even interpret them properly. No more. And after that, I stopped having them as frequently. I still get them every once in a while, especially when it's like a really major, large event. Like I think it was in my second hypnotherapy session. The hypnotherapist asked me what I see for future events. And I was like, there's a huge explosion, this massive explosion. And then I think it was a couple days later, there was that huge explosion in Beirut. And again, like I'm not anything more special than any other human. We all have these abilities to tap into future timelines, potential timelines. We can all have prophetic dreams, really intense visions, so on and so forth. So tap into your abilities. This is, you're here listening to this for a reason, that you are meant to come across this information and awaken yourself, awaken your DNA and your neurological pathways, stepping into your true power. So in 2019, near the end, I started having conscious visitations from extraterrestrial beings. And then in 2020, I was having really, really intense visions, really intense experiences. I saw in 2022, like the spring of 2022, where there's going to be that huge kind of, I would say it's like a solar flash type event, or just like a huge great awakening. I've also been getting the phrase like a week of death over and over and over again. And then also the date April 19th, 2022 it keeps coming into my mind over and over and over again. So, and I think like the week of death, it feels to me like there is going to be a significant amount of physical death, where people are taking this springtime as an exit point for their soul. Their souls are tired. They've gone through hell, literally, and they are choosing to exit at this time and to complete this incarnation. And other people are, choosing to awaken at this time. And some people are just ascending further. And so it can also be ego death, and also just like death of past tendencies or past situations that people would get themselves in. They're, a lot of people are going to be saying enough is enough. We're not doing this anymore. And then, so after a lot of these visions, I ended up having an abduction in August of 2020. And it was very strange. Like I was in my dream space, but I could, kind of see what was going on. I was in this like glass cylindrical tube, and they were kind of playing tricks on me, sort of like mind tricks, and going, playing with the fact that I was in a dream space, and they were making things seem not as they were. They were wearing these little hats. They were like grays that abducted me, and they ended up chipping me and taking 2 of my eggs. So it was interesting to have that experience as well. And but yeah, I would love to hear what you all have to say about these things. If you've had dreams too, there's lots of people who have prophetic dreams, all the time. There's tons of information about it. Lots of clairvoyant visions as well. And here's David Wilcock. He has tons of prophecies that he shares. His recent one, the Michael prophecies, have been absolutely amazing. And a lot of the things that are going on right now are in those prophecies as well. So, there's different types of waking dreams, warning dreams, decision ones, incubation ones, directional dreams. And obviously, I'm sure you've heard of Nostradamus. There's Baba Vanga. There's quite a few other ones that have had these, really intense worldwide visions as well. So let me know what you think in the description below or the comments below. And I really wish you the best year 2022, where there's mass awakenings and we all raise our vibration and ascend further. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you on the next video.